Good morning, everyone. And today we're starting the portion of Matos Masei in this week's Torah portion, but our concentration is on a topic in Parsha of Matos. We're starting from the book Selections from Likutei Sichos, the second part of Matos. A short introduction. In this week's Torah portion in Matot, actually, we read about two tribes, Gad and Reuven, that had a lot of herd, a lot of cattle. They come to Moshe and they say, if we find favor in your eyes, we would like not to cross the Jordan into the Holy Land. We would like to remain on the western side of the Jordan. And we would, because it's a very fertile land for our cattle, to feed, to care for them. So we are giving up on our inheritance and our gift from God in the Holy Land in favor of the land that we had conquered from Sichon and Og, the two giants, Ammon and Moab. We read that Moshe was extremely upset. He rebukes them severely, as we will as soon as see. But then they explain that they did not mean the way Moshe understood, but rather they are willing to participate in the war and assist in conquering the Holy Land and then return back. And Moshe accepts that and is happy with them.
Were they originally given territory in Israel by God?
No,
I don't think so.
they were not. Because once they enter the Holy Land, everybody knew that they have no share, and therefore their land belongs on the western shore of the Jordan River. Here it is, I'm going to read this week's Torah reading relates that the tribe of Reuben and Gad had many herds. After surveying the land of Sichon and Og that the Jews had conquered, they approached Moshe saying, the land that God has struck down before the congregation of Israel is a land fit for herds, and your servants possesses herds. Therefore they asked, let this land be given to your servants as an inheritance. Do not have us cross the Jordan. Moshe answered them, will your brothers go out to war while you dwell here? Why discourage the hearts of the children of Israel from crossing into the land? Moreover, he castigated them severely, saying, this is what your ancestors did, as will be explained below. He's talking about the spies. The spies had tried to persuade the Jewish people from entering the Holy Land, and he rebukes them that they are repeating the same as the spies. The question arises, says the Rabbi, how could these tribes, Gad and Reuben, even consider the possibility that Transjordan, a land for which the entire Jewish people fought, be given to them alone as an inheritance? Why should they, the tribes of Gad and Reuben, settle on that land while the remainder of the Jewish people go out and wage war in Eretz Israel? The Rebbe is asking two questions. First, what do you mean we want this? It's not yours. It belongs to the entire Jewish nation. The whole nation conquered that. Moshe is the one who killed the giants. What is this that they want to own that land? And in addition, says the Rebbe, how is it possible that they're asking Moshe not to enter the Holy Land? After all, we know what happened to the spies 38 years ago, and that's the reason they are wandering in the desert for so many years, and they repeat the same act as Moshe himself said. A famous rabbi whose yahrzeit was just 2 weeks ago, the Orach Chaim, resolves this difficulty, explaining that the tribes of Gad and Reuben clarifying the issue by the way they describe the land. The land that God has struck down, the emphasis is struck down before the congregation of Israel, since God would wage war on behalf of the Jewish people, the participation of these tribes would thus not be so significant in conquering the lands on the other side of the Jordan. When they speak to Moshe, they speak about the land that God has struck down. What they hint to Moshe, or what they mean to say, is that you know how we conquered the lands of Ammon and Moab with those giants that was impossible to conquer? God has conquered that for us. Therefore, God is going to conquer the Holy Land. So there is no need for many large army. There is no need for trained soldiers because anyway, God is going to do that. And that's what they meant. That's what they tried to answer to while they were asking for the land. So far, so good. Moshe, on the other hand, turned to them and rebukes them. In this light, Moshe's answer to them, will your brothers go out to war while you dwell there? Here can be interpreted to mean, true, it is God who will wage the war, but the people must at least make an effort in going out to do battle. Therefore, it is inappropriate for you to settle here while your brothers go out to war. Moshe says to them, yeah, God did it, but God wants the effort placed by the human. And therefore, the human beings, the men will have to wage war. If they see that you do not go, it will, so to say, convince them not to fight, because they will assume that you fear of losing the war, of getting killed. Even though you say that you don't need to go to war because God is going to take care of it, everybody else will interpret it differently, that you don't go to war fearing for your life. And they will also refuse. And that's why he comes out rebuking them like the spies that turned down the hearts of the Jewish people from entering the Holy Land. So far, so good?
Yeah, think about what you just said. Think about today.
What about today?
There are people who don't want to fight, who claim that they shouldn't be able to fight. We're not going to have a political discussion.
I don't want to respond to it, but off record, I will respond. And it is completely wrong to rebuke those people. What they say is not what you just said. A, they don't fear to fight. And B, the army has delivered lies after lies about accommodating their needs. And it's very sad. There is a deep state in the army, that I can say openly. My family had faced and won them. There is a deep state refusing to deliver what they promise. And that's the crux of the issue. Not, thank you. It's not about, not about, God forbid, not fearing blood or don't want. Those yeshiva boys would have gone if just the promise being delivered, not asking for anything else. But it's very sad when these issues are brought up because I'm personally involved. My father served in the army all these years, even though he has a large family, which exempt to a certain degree. My family all serve in the army, and I can tell you that it's a very sad situation that the media was able to convince so many of us outside of Israel that this is a war between the righteous people versus those who are looking to a cop out. And this is exactly what Moshe is telling them, actually, in that way. I have said enough. I want to come.
My cousin has 18 people in Gaza.
Okay, so my family has more than double than that. There's nothing to pride about that. This is the reality of Israel. Like everybody who comes back from Israel says, my tour guide served in the army, and he was a paratrooper, and he was... Everybody in Israel served in the army. Come on.
That's
how it used to be here. Everybody served in the army.
But it used to be mandatory, right?
Because they wasted it. They don't have real enemies.
That's back to our discussion. That's why Moshe rebukes the two tribes, saying to them, you might have a good intention because you're sure there is going to be a victory. But the others might interpret it as fear of blood, as fear of losing the war, and they will be discouraged from fighting, and you are just like the spies.
When does the half tribe of Menashe come into the picture?
The what?
The tribe of Menashe.
Moshe imposed them on the other two, so they should have the love of the Holy Land. Because Menashe, Slophat's daughter, last week's Torah portion, they fought for a piece of land. And Yosef wanted to be buried in Israel, so they loved the Holy Land. That's why he attached half of the tribe to them. The Rebbe is asking 3 questions. Number 1, if they tell Moshe the reason they don't want to continue because they are certain that there is no need for trained soldiers. By the way, God was the most advanced fighter among the Jewish people. If they were certain that there is no need for extra power because God is going to take care of it, they were actually the opposite of the tribes, of the spies. The spies, what did the spies say? Clearly, they say, we are unable to conquer. God will not be able to make a miracle. That's the spies' words. God and Reuben say the opposite. God is going to do everything for us. So for Moshe, comparing the two tribes to the spies makes no sense. You can rebuke them. You can tell them it's not acceptable because it may be misinterpreted. That's acceptable. But to continue the rebuke and saying, so did your fathers, meaning the spies, where both are pulling in the exact polar opposites. The spies did not believe God can perform the miracle, and they believe that God will do everything. That's question number two. Question number two, why is this that Moshe rebukes him so badly? After all, when they start their conversation, they say, Imna matzanu chen beinecha. If we find favors in your eye, we would like to remain here. Which means all they say is, if you disagree, we will pull it off the table. We will stay in with the Jewish people. So therefore, excuse me.
Thank you. What? What? No, the smell.
Which means if Moshe feels it's wrong, they will change their mind. So why such a big rebuke? Imagine you come to me and you ask me something, I can say to you yes or no. If you say to me, that's what I'm doing, then if I feel it's not the right thing, I can tell you it's very upsetting to me. But if you're asking whether it's right or not, you should be told if it's right or not, without the rebuke, so to say, and comparing to the spies. Ali, do you understand the question?
It took you a while to make me slow down.
Number three.
He slowed down because he got so fast.
After the number three, after they explain to Moshe that they are not going to abandon and they are not going to let anyone assume that they fear of losing the war, because they will go in the front and they will not settle their lands and homes until the entire land is conquered. Moshe accepts that. He said, sure, no problem. But yet we find that when the exile from the Holy Land came in, the first temple, they were the first one to be exiled. Meaning there was something not perfect in their conduct. And therefore part of the punishment is getting rid of them from that land. When the Jewish people all had to leave the land, they were first. Says the Rebbe, I don't understand. If Moshe accepted that, it means what they did was right. And therefore, why were they selfish? Okay, that's you're right. They put their cattle before their children. That's correct. And Moshe explained that to them. But back to our discussion. Let me repeat the three questions. The first question is, how can you compare them to spies? Spies did not believe God can perform miracles. They trusted God wholeheartedly. Number two, they asked for, if we find favor in your eye, and Moshe could have said, don't agree with you, but why rebuke them and compare them to the spies? And number three, how come if Moshe accepted after they explained what they meant to not to this, to so to say, to turn the heart of the Jewish people from entering the land, why is it that when the exile expelled, the Jewish people were expelled from the Holy Land, they were the first one? Now, there are different answers, but all of them are incomplete. The final answer is the one I'm going to show with you, which is the Hasidic interpretation. Yes, Leon.
In faith, they sort of contradict themselves, because
they think that, the war's gonna be taken care of because they have their full faith in God. But then they don't have full faith in God to provide for their cattle. They're trying to manage.
Well, you say that if they had full faith in God, how come they don't have full faith in God about taking care of their cattle? The answer would be the same time that the same God whom we trust also want to us to partner. And therefore, we must do all in our ability to partner with God. The greater we walk, the bigger partners we are. And therefore, for them to say, I don't care, is actually inappropriate. The appropriate thing was for them to look for the fertile land that will provide for the herd, and then come and say, how can we get it? So that's the right thing to do. Just a minute, Bob.
The exile to me,
By the way, I'm going to address just direct questions to the topic. Yes.
that exile to me doesn't seem like a punishment. Being the first ones forced out of the land meant that they didn't have to see the destruction that was happening in the land.
I'm not so sure, because I don't know that there was a destruction other than just being taken out. Number one.
Well, this is
Number two, the prophet said that those who will hasten to settle in the land will be it's the wrong behavior, because they'll be the first to be hastened to leave the country. And those who came after, they came and they met brethren, so it made it easier. So there's a lot of components here that makes a point that asking to live outside of Israel was actually paid off inappropriately. That's all.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
But it's not a punishment. It's not a sin, okay? It just shows on a small, so to say, defect or an inappropriate desire or the result, right?
I would think that geographically, the king of Shvatim would go first, because they're on the outskirts, and leave it first and then take care of the rest of the land.
It's all possible, yeah. But the entire country was conquered. Says the Rebbe, we would number 4, these questions can be answered by offering the following preface.
No.
Even after the giving of the Torah. Okay, so I skipped, I want to go back. Number 3, actually, page 25. Let me share with you by heart. Hasidic teaching explain or interpret the sin of the spies in the following way. The spies are very holy people. Actually, they were leaders. A leader is not someone who politically knew how to play the media according to their advantage. They were appointed by God. And therefore, they had great traits, and they were very holy people. Their sin was they wanted to remain in the desert, to be shepherds. What's the uniqueness of a shepherd? They don't deal with the day-to-day challenges. They are up in the field. They can play, pray, sing, study, while the sheep and the herd is grazing and taking care of itself. Do you understand that? God said that staying in the desert where manna is provided for you and all the needs are taken care of without your effort is temporary. It's just preparing you for the actual purpose of serving God. Imagine you go to college to earn a degree. You're not going to college to earn a degree because you enjoy learning. Of course, hopefully you do. But the outcome is that you go to the world, marry, have a family, and support yourself and contribute your talents to the universe. What if someone is graduating and says, I love studying, I'm going to continue. My father is going to tell, he goes to his father and mother says, please, you love me so much, I want to do it. This is inappropriate from a Jewish point of view because they do not contribute to society. The Jewish people living in the desert was just a preparation, a transformation from slavery into the Holy Land. Remember, within 40 days, within a month, they were supposed to enter the Holy Land. And then they have to go plowing the field and planting seeds and raising and weeding. And there is a lot of hard labor and then competing in the market. So there was a lot of hard labor, backbreaking, and mental backbreaking, because they have to compete and they have to fight for every move and every successful story. Every year it's over again. Is it going to be a rainy season? It's not. What crop is selling well? Which competition? Which one is my competition? How can I do better? There's a continuous challenges.
Be a slave?
A shepherd, not a slave,
Well,
a free man serving God in the universe, which entails putting all your efforts, all your talent in achieving the goal. But when you come home, you close that chapter and you are with your family. Comes Shabbat, you close that book and you live with your community and yourself. This is the Jewish way. I was raised that way in a farm village. My village is agricultural. Later it became an educational. There were more institutions to raise because there was a need in Israel. A lot of kids from broken families. There was a lot of institutions for boys and girls. But the original settlers in the land, that in the country, in their village, had large piece of land, and they would plant. There was nuts, there was sunflower seeds, there was potatoes every year, and depending on the land, depending on the market. It did not make somebody a slave 100%, unless you're a servant of God is a slave. But
No, I
that's
think 2 months earlier they were slaves, so they were used to working hard. So it shouldn't have been a big deal to have to work hard in the Holy Land if 2 months earlier they were slaves.
okay, yeah,
Early.
but do it out with freedom. Do it without being afraid of the whip.
Yeah,
That's a different story. It's a mentality change.
okay.
And they were supposed to enter right away. I want to move on.
Okay.
And therefore, they refused to enter the Holy Land. They wanted to stay in the desert. Why? They said, we will fail miserably. We will go astray from God. And that's what it means. God cannot conquer the land. It's not this belief that God can perform miracles. They believe that miracles that God is expecting in the Holy Land is miracles that they will achieve as human beings. The miracle is, as Ali calls it, slave, the miracle is that you go to work and you have to deal with people and you have to compete and work very hard for every penny and then be devoted to God. That's something that it's not going, even God cannot perform. In other words, they did not believe in the human being. They did not trust that a human being is able to face those challenges and conquer and be successful. And therefore, God punished them. He says, you don't deserve to enter the Holy Land. God got rid of them. God, do you understand that so far? What did God and Reuven said? That they were shepherds. They wanted to remain shepherds. You know what it means they wanted to remain shepherds? They wanted to be devoid of the day-to-day life challenges. They didn't want to go to Grand Central Station to pass by all the scenery and all the challenges that's available. They didn't want to be on social media. They didn't want to deal with the internet. Shepherds, they live in a tent or a nice home, and they milk their cows, and they take the herd to graze, and they sell the wool, they sell the animals, they sell the meat they slaughter, and that's how they support their families. It's a wonderful, ideal lifestyle. A lot of people are living that way. But God, Moshe rebukes them. He said to them, that's not what God meant for creating you. He meant for you to change the universe, to impact another human being, to find another person and say to them, when you dress modestly. When he finds some girl and says, be married early and have a family because you have a purpose to serve God and to create a better universe, and be able to take care of your body and not be challenged to go into non-kosher establishment and unhealthy food. That's why in that way they are like the spies. Says the Rebbe, we find that the forefathers were shepherds. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were shepherds. If being a shepherd is not right, how come they were shepherds? Says the Rebbe, there is a distinction between before God gave us the Torah and after God gave us the Torah. Before the giving of the Torah, God was up there spiritually, and humans were here. And therefore, they wanted to be connected to God. Therefore, they had to stay away. They don't go partying. There is no theater nearby, and there is no shoes that they have to buy from Paris. They make their own shoes. They make their own clothing. So it doesn't fit well. It doesn't make me look this way or that way. Who cares? He's on the field. But once God gave the Torah, the greatest achievement of giving the Torah, and those who have been to the Tanya class have discovered that into a deeper level, chapter 37, the purpose of the Torah is to affect the universe, to change the people, the entire humanity, to change the entire universe. Now being a shepherd is running away from reality, hiding in a cave. And by doing that is disservice. God is wasting energy, God forbid, if I don't use my energy, my talents, my ability to serve by changing the universe. Now you understand the difference between the forefathers and after the Torah was given. The sin of the spies, had they desired to stay in the desert and be shepherds prior to the Torah giving, it would be wonderful, it would be admired. But after God gave the Torah, serving God is not by being a shepherd. Serving God is by interacting with the universe and all its challenges and miraculously surviving it and living in an insane universe, living a sane life. But, says the Rebbe, after God gave us the Torah, there are two categories of Jews. I'm going to use the words in Aramaic and Hebrew, the terminology. One is called Marei Torah. Mar is master. Marei Torah, masters of Torah, and Marei Uvdin Tabin, and masters of good deeds. Okay? That in order for me to serve God, it's not enough to interact with the universe because I'm going to get lost. I'm not going to be able to withstand all the challenges and addiction and hardship and neighbors and friends and the culture. It's impossible. God gave us a rope to tie ourselves, to hold on to, and be always connected to God, and that is the Torah. So you need to have a select number of people, men, women, who are Marei Torah, who are masters of Torah, and they would be the ones to inspire everybody else to continuously serve God and not get lost and not lose themselves in the hardship of day-to-day life. So far, so good. That's Gad and Reuven. They come to Moshe and say, we want to be the masters of Torah. We want to be shepherds, to be outside the universe and be able to always know what God wants and always be able to inspire others. Moshe says to him, you're like the spies. After God gave us the Torah, there's no such thing as becoming a masters of Torah only, because masters of Torah only is good for the forefathers. But once God gave us a Torah, He wants you to utilize the Torah as a tool to inspire and change the universe. So what do they end? Now we understand the rebuke and the comparison to the spies. Now, says the Rebbe, that's how they responded. They say, we will be first to fight with the Jewish people. You know what it means? We are willing to demonstrate that the only reason, the only way for us to keep and study Torah and be shepherds is because we care about everybody else and we are there for their benefit. How do we demonstrate it? Not with words, but with action. That's very crucial. A lot can be said about that. How is the action demonstrated? By going to war with them. And for 14 years, conquering and settling that took for the Jewish people, they did not go home. They didn't sleep in their homes. They were out there with the rest of the tribes, showing them that the reason they divided, or say they separated themselves from everybody to concentrate on being shepherds, to be able to study Torah, is to continuously remind the rest of the Jewish people where their heart and actions to be, and inspire them rather than just separating themselves. In that way, Moshe said, if that's what you'll do, you will demonstrate in action that the reason you study Torah is for the assistance and the help that you're going to give the masters of good deeds, the rest of Jewish people who are involved in fighting war and competing in the market and praying to God for rain and plowing and tilling, etc. Then you are a service to community that is a must, that is needed, because otherwise everybody will get lost. But says the Rebbe, after all, they were the first one to be expelled, because at the end of the day, majority of Jewish people should aspire to be masters of good deeds in the Torah. And therefore, when the exile came, they are the first one to suffer the consequences. Did I cover all the bases? Now you understand why they came to Moshe, why Moshe is unhappy, and he compares them to the spies, how they accommodate the fear of Moshe's response, and why is this at the end of the day? Because the real important part is to serve God in action. Therefore, when the punishment came upon the Jewish people, they're the first one to suffer the consequences. Thank you very much. Have a good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.